When will students in Sri Lanka get an opportunity to return to schools? Will teachers and principals' trade unions call off their strike action anytime soon? Good evening and welcome. This is Primetime News on TV1. We've got the details of these stories and more lined up for you here tonight. But first, a look at your top stories.
Newsfirst headlines. Main sponsor.
Valuable Finance, best finance company.
Teachers' unions say that it is up to the teachers to decide the day they report to work.
උඹලගේ දුවක්කුවද අපේ වචනද වැඩි බර කියලා අපි 21 වෙනිදාට බලමු.
Several principal trade unions to launch strike actions. Government decides to import nano-nitrogen urea from India. Farmers protest across the country today as well. His Eminence the Cardinal and L.A. Gunavansathera files a fundamental rights application against the LNG deal with New Fortress. Disagreement between the Chinese company, Colombo Port City Commission and the Secretary to the President. Legal advisor of the Commission also resigns.
Newsfirst headlines. Main sponsor.
Valuable Finance, best finance company.
Taking a look at those stories now in detail. The government has already announced that schools with less than 200 students will reopen on Thursday, the 21st of this month. But will members of teachers and principals trade associations report to work on this specific day?
The whole Ceylon Teachers Association, Ceylon Teachers Association and the Teachers and Principals Trade Unions Collective stressed that they are not ready to report to work on the date announced by the government.
We reached a clear decision that teachers and principals will not report to work on the date announced for the reopening of schools. But we invite all of the teachers and principals to report to work on the 25th of this month and efficiently carry out the academic activities at the schools and build the future of our children. We are the people who are reopening the schools. We will reopen the schools and work at the schools efficiently, but our actions will not stop here. At the first step, the recommendations of the Cabinet Subcommittee must be implemented. Also based on a constitution prepared after lengthy discussions, implement the provisions of the Subodhani report. We know that they have already sent letters to the police and various steps have been taken through intelligence units. The government is trying to intimidate teachers and principals in our country. We would like to say that we accept your challenge and we will stage a strike on the 21st of this month. We are not afraid. They are threatening us, asking for the keys. How can we give them the keys? These are thieves. We will stage a number of actions before the 12th of November budget proposal. We are going back to school to conduct academic activities for only one reason, and that is to teach the children. We will find out on the 21st what is stronger, your orders or our decisions, the bullets from your guns or our words. If you can, reopen the schools and show us. Try and harm any teacher in the country.
Teachers' trade unions of the ruling faction expressed the following views. Teachers and principals of our trade unions will be reporting to work on the 21st. I am not aware of the decisions made by the Education Ministry working with Joseph Stalin and Mahinda Jayasinghe. Our Education Ministry has decided to reopen schools on the 21st. The teachers are ready for this. You can't shut the schools down by force because at the end of the day, the government owns the premises.
The National Collective Against Teachers' Principal Salary Anomalies said that they will launch a continuous trade union strike.
The teachers and principals cannot be suppressed like other groups. Therefore, as the National Collective Against Teachers' Principals Salary Normal issue, we will launch a trade union action from the 21st of this month. Until the day that the authorities provide a solution to our issue, we would like to clearly mention that we will not allow the schools to reopen. We recently saw that the government had instructed their henchmen to clean the school premises in order to reopen the schools by force. We would like to challenge the government to reopen the schools. If they can, we are ready to face them.
Following a meeting held at the Ministry of Education, teachers and principals trade unions, including the Principals Grade Officers Association, said they will not call off their struggle.
We will continue our struggle against the government. We have not made a final decision as of yet. We haven't decided to return to schools on the 21st. The trade unions are confused as to how the decision changed when the authorities are yet to give us a satisfactory response regarding the matter.
This was the response of the members of the ruling party with regard to the issues of teachers and principals.
We respectfully request all teachers and principals to accept this solution and prevent the education of these children collapsing any further. Despite what the JVP and various other trade unions say, I strongly believe that a majority of teachers and principals will report to work.
The Education Ministry in the Southern Province has decided to appoint the most senior teacher who reports to work as the acting principal on a temporary basis if the principal of the respective school fails to report to work on the 21st of this month. The decision was published through a paper advertisement.
Various orders have been issued. Zonal directors convened meetings with principals to fulfill the needs of regional politicians. Many orders have been made, but we will not abide by any of those orders. Farmers continued their protests demanding for fertilizer so that they can begin cultivating for the Maha season.
The LA United Farmers Association in Seranora, Kantale staged a protest demanding for solutions to the fertilizer crisis in the country. Members of 42 farmers' organizations joined the protest.
We are asking them to give us fertilizer so that these people can make this country self-sufficient. We will take care of the rest. If you cannot listen to us and instead listen to someone else's advice, all of these farmers will get onto the streets and even sacrifice their lives to send this government home.
The Mahavari Marga United Farmers Organization in the Anuradhapura district and the Padavi Settlement United Farmers Organization staged a protest in Padavia today.
We do not believe the government's promise that they will pay us compensation. We do not believe anything that the ministers, Prime Minister or the President of this country says. We are requesting for organic fertilizer and chemical fertilizer to be provided at a 50-50 ratio to the farmers in Padavia. We did not vote you into power for this. Farmers had never fallen this low in the past. Let's see what you can do when the farmers take to the streets.
Meanwhile, the State Farmers Organizations Collective attached the Namaloya movement staged a protest demanding for fertilizer along the banks of the Namaloya.
When they have power, they do not have wisdom. When they have wisdom, they do not have power. That is what has happened. The people we voted for must think about the country and about the farmers. Farmers today are weeping. They have no way to feed their children and even clothe them. That is how helpless they are.
Farmers of the Galoya Left Bank United Farmers Organization and the All Ceylon Farmers Federation staged a protest in Ohana today.
The assistant agrarian official and all other officials told us to go back to our villages and produce organic fertilizer. They didn't provide us with the rock phosphate to date. Although they do not understand this, that kind of fertilizer is used for multi-season crops. It reacts with the sulfuric acid and becomes superphosphate. These people do not understand this. The president should come and speak to the farmers. He needs to understand this. They have sent us the fertilizer that should be used on the crops 35 days after the crops have been planted.
Farmers in Sirupura Dimulagala also staged a protest today, demanding for fertilizer. The protest was organized by the Dimulagala Farmers Collective.
These are the puppets and scarecrows. They have signed international agreements, destroyed the local agriculture sector, and are attempting to make farmers slaves of multinational corporations after selling their lands to them. We would like to inform the president and his ministers that you have murdered the farmers. You are not ministers, you are destroying these villages and the country. Please give us our fertilizer.
A decision was reached to import nano-nitrogen liquid fertilizer from Indian Farmers Fertilizer Cooperative Limited in Gujarat for cultivation in Sri Lanka. The decision was reached at a meeting chaired by the Secretary to the President, P.B. Jayasundara. Agriculture Secretary Senior Professor Udit K. Jayasinghe said that the first consignment of nano-nitrogen liquid fertilizer will reach the country tomorrow. The meeting chaired by the Secretary to the President was attended by the Agriculture Secretary, officials of the State Ministry, the Director General of Agriculture, as well as the Secretary to the Ministry of Finance.
Sri Lanka
For the coming season, we need 2.2 million litres of fertilizer to cultivate approximately 800,000 hectares of paddy cultivations and about 100,000 hectares of corn cultivations. But we held discussions, and based on the advice and the approval of the President and the Secretary to the President, we managed to increase this to 3.1 million litres based on the advice we received that it will be good if this fertilizer can be used on vegetables and other crops too. The Secretary to the Minister of Agriculture pointed out that the use of third and fourth generation nano-nitrogen liquid fertilizer is a viable alternative to the urea fertilizer that was traditionally used in Sri Lanka and causes a significantly less impact on the soil and groundwater. Imagine if we are sick, instead of eating food through our mouth, nutrients would probably be injected into our body as it will be absorbed by the body faster. A similar thing happens here. Even the carbon structure created by the molasses will be absorbed by the plant. These substances will not remain in the soil or get dissolved in water and cause various diseases. The patent for the production of nano-urea liquid fertilizer is owned by the Indian Farmers Fertilizer Cooperative Limited, or the IFFCO, in Gujarat. They began the commercial production of this fertilizer in June this year. On the 6th of August, the Indian Minister of Chemicals and Fertilizers, Manshukh Mandavia, informed the Indian Parliament that approval has been sought from the relevant institutions for the exportation of this fertilizer to other countries. According to these reports, this fertilizer had been produced quite recently. The fertilizer has only been tested on 94 types of crops in India. Is this an organic fertilizer? We can try to stick to words and debate on it. Is it organic or chemical? Is it artificial or natural? Engaging with the farmers practically is more important than debating on these words. That is what is happening here. So this is a significant victory that we achieved in our journey towards a green agriculture. While nano-urea liquid fertilizer is being brought to Sri Lanka, the opposition today revealed that the ship carrying the stock of fertilizer that was rejected continues to be en route to Sri Lanka. That ship is now returning to Sri Lanka. For 12 days, this ship has been travelling back to Sri Lanka. This ship is carrying the stock of fertilizer that was rejected. The Chinese government is now trying to force our government to accept this stock. If fertilizer like this brought back to the country, our cultivations will face a serious threat that will affect our harvest.
Will the government reverse the decision taken on fertilizer? This was what the General Secretary of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna had to say.
Never has this government or the president has taken decisions to put the farming community of the country in trouble. There are few steps that we have taken to resolve this issue. The president and the government will make a decision if there is a need to take some of those steps back.
Farmers in the Kilinochchi and Mullaitivu districts met Commander of the Sri Lanka Army, General Shavindu Silva, yesterday. During the meeting, discussions have been held to provide organic and chemical fertilizer to start cultivations for the Maha season. The farmers have requested the Army Commander to inform their plight to the President due to the fertilizer shortage. The farmers have made a request to grant them permission to carry out their cultivations at state-owned plots of land that no one lay claim to. According to the Sri Lanka Army, General Shavindu Silva had apprised the farmers of the organic fertilizer initiative of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, and that focus is directed towards providing the necessary assistance to farmers to carry out their cultivation.
We cross over to a short commercial break now. We'll be back with more news on the other side.
TV1 News First, main sponsor.
Students complete the ACBT University Entry Foundation in 8 months for 288,000 rupees.
Valuable Finance, best finance company.
Welcome back to the news. The head of Sri Lanka's Catholic Church, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjith and Venerable Alle Gunavansatthera filed a fundamental rights application with the Supreme Court seeking an order to prevent the transfer of shares of the Yugadanavi power plant to the New Fortress company. The fundamental rights application also seeks an order from court to prevent the government from awarding the LNG supply contract to New Fortress Incorporated.
Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, the Cabinet of Ministers, Cabinet Secretary, Finance Secretary, the Attorney General, among 54 others were named as respondents in the application. New Fortress Incorporated was also named as a respondent in the application. Steps are taken at present to allow 40% stake in the Keravalapitia Yugadanavi power plant to New Fortress of America, along with the construction and maintenance of the terminal and pipeline required to supply LNG to Sri Lanka. The petition alleges that the sale of shares in the Keravalapitti Yugadanavi power plant to US New Fortress was carried out without any transparency and without a competitive bidding process. The petition also states that the government has failed to determine the technicalities and status of the LNG supply agreement. The petition states that the LNG obtained without a competitive bid is more likely to be substandard and that it could disrupt the supply of 600 to 1000 megawatts of energy in the country. It has been pointed out that in such a situation, the Ceylon Electricity Board cannot provide an uninterrupted supply of electricity in the country. The FR application seeks to make null the decision reached by the Cabinet of Ministers on the said agreement on the 6th of September and prevent the agreement from being enforced until the examination of the application is concluded.
We would like to request the government to run the country without any deception and secrets, protect the country's peace and territory without violating the human rights of the public. The people have not seen the agreement on the Yugadanavi power plant in Keravalapitti as of yet. We can only depend on the Supreme Court. The future generations need a country to call home.
11 constituent parties of the government, including the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, had earlier asked for an opportunity to hold a discussion with the President regarding the LNG deal. However, President had informed the representatives of the constituent parties to meet with the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance Basil Rajapaksa instead and discuss the relevant issues. The President has also said that it is more suitable to discuss issues of this nature openly at the Cabinet meeting as well as at the ruling party meeting rather than meeting with him privately. We have informed our stance of it to the President. The ministers have spoken about this. The General Secretary of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party also spoke about the matter. As the party leaders, we sent a letter to the President with clear details about the matter. He has responded to it. He has asked us to discuss the matter with the Prime Minister and Minister Basil Rajapaksa. He has also asked us to talk about this with experts who have specialized knowledge about it. He has not provided us an appointment with him.
ජනාධිපතිතුමාගෙන් ප්‍රශ්න කරනකොට ආණ්ඩු පක්ෂයේම
When the members of the ruling faction are questioning the president about why the LNG power plant is being sold to America and why an American monopoly is being allowed, the president says that this issue should be raised with Minister Basil Rajapaksa and the Prime Minister. Can the president, who has the power through the 20th Amendment to the Constitution, say something like this? There is a reason behind this. That reason is the connection he has with the United States of America. We have warned of this situation before this. When people with connections to the USA and family members who are citizens of USA are ruling the country, it is similar to the rule of the country being handed over to the United States of America.
මත් නැවත වරක් ඇමරිකාවට යන්න පුළුවන්කම තියෙන මේ අයට මේ රටේ පාලනය බාර දෙනකොට මේ ඇමරිකාවට පාලනය බාර දීම හා සමානයි කියලා අපි එදා කිව්වා.
While the discussion on the LNG agreement with America continues, reports have come in regarding a rift between the Colombo Port City Commission, the Chinese company and the Secretary to the President. The most recent development in this rift is the resignation submitted by the legal advisor of the Colombo Port City Commission, Nihal Jayawardena, and the company, Capital City Corporate Services, which functioned as a secretary to the Commission. Nihal Jayawardena was also a consultant at this company. This situation is a result of the rift that initially began between the Secretary to the President, Dr. P.B. Jayasundara, the Chairman of the Port City Commission, President's Counsel Gamini Marapana, and the Managing Director of the Chinese company Czech Port City Colombo, Yang Lu, even before these recent resignations. When we inquired into the matter, it was revealed that the Chinese company had requested the Port City Commission to convert to dollars the rupee income received by leasing lands in Sri Lanka. The chairman of the Port City Commission, Gamini Marapana, had refused to allow this, as lands equivalent to the investment made by the Chinese company in Sri Lanka has already been leased out to the Chinese company. President's Counsel Gamini Marapana was of the stance that at a time when the country is facing a forex crisis, such a request cannot be approved. Following the discussions, the managing director of the Chinese company had written to Gamini Marapana that discussions should be held once every fortnight so that progress can be made on the Port City project, and also forwarded a copy of the letter to the Secretary to the President. Responding to this letter, Secretary to the President P.B. Jayasundara had informed the Chairman of the Port City Commission that the meeting will be convened under his auspices. The President's Secretary had informed Gamini Marapana to direct the Director General of the Port City Commission to organize this meeting once every fortnight. Responding to this letter, President's Counsel Gamini Marapana had informed the Secretary to the President that as the Commission was appointed by the President, the Commission is answerable to the President, and added that the Secretary to the President has no power to intervene in these matters. The letter had gone on to note that matters including organizing meetings are among the duties of the Director General of the Commission. President's Counsel Gamini Marapana has stressed that therefore he is against this process, as it would undermine the trust placed in the Port City Commission. President's Counsel Gamini Marapana had gone on to note that the Secretary to the President is not empowered to advise the Commission based on the needs of the Chinese company. Replying to this letter, the Secretary to the President had informed the President's Counsel that he will not intervene in the matter. Meanwhile, the letter that was sent to the Commission Chairman by the President's Secretary in connection to the letter of the Managing Director of the Chinese company had been copied to the legal advisor Nihal Jayawardena. There had been situations thereafter where a delay was experienced in certain tasks that were allocated to the legal advisor and the company secretary. The Commission had then resorted to using other companies to fulfill those tasks. The legal advisor and the company secretary had taken steps to officially resign from those responsibilities based on this.
A heated situation arose at the Development Committee office in Kotmale between the chairman of the Development Committee, Nimal Piyatissa, who was elected to Parliament through the National Freedom Front, and Chamara Subhashita of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna during a committee meeting today.
Leader of the opposition, Sajid Premadasa, says that the country is heading towards a crisis day by day. The opposition leader expressed the following views after declaring open the party office of the Samagi Jana Balawega in Siribopura, Hammantota.
Dollar sanchita tika ennama diya wenawa.
Our dollar reserves are reducing day by day. The entire nation, even the preschool children, know that this government has failed. This is a failed government. The people who criticized the government being within the government were the same people who said that they will do a better job. But I would like to tell them that they must resign before making such claims. That is the best signal you can give to the nation. How shameless are they to hold positions in the government and criticize the government? The economy has entirely collapsed. The Central Bank of Sri Lanka has now become a printing press. If the CBSL continues its operation, the country will lead towards a hyperinflation situation. The rupee that is depreciated at the moment will depreciate further. The cost of living will increase and the prices of essential items will increase as well.
දැනටමත් බාල්දු වෙලා තිබෙන රුපියල තවදුරටත් බාල්දු වෙලා දැනටමත් වැඩි වෙලා තිබෙන ජීවන බර ජීවන වියදම භාණ්ඩවල මිල තවදුරටත් ඉහළයි.
Sri Lanka has printed 19 billion rupees outright after partially successful treasury auctions over the week as a note issue bank took up the balance amid continuing external trouble and mounting reserve-related liabilities.
The central bank's treasury bill stock went up to 1,469.84 billion rupees on the 14th of October from 1,450.21 billion rupees a day earlier as treasuries were brought outright to keep rates down. Meanwhile, window borrowings went up to 188 billion rupees from 147 billion rupees. Sri Lanka's net borrowings have been rising steadily from 2015 as monetary policy deteriorated.
Now, the tragic passing former Sri Lankan cricket captain Bandula Warnapura has passed away while receiving treatment at a private hospital.
Bandula Warnapura was born on the 1st of March 1953 in Drambukana. He is an old boy of Nalanda College, Colombo. Bandula Warnapura captained the Nalanda College Colombo first 11 cricket team in 1971 and represented Sri Lanka in their inaugural ODI against West Indies in 1975. 7 years later, he led Sri Lanka in their very first test match, which was played against England in 1982. He also faced the first ball and scored the first test run for Sri Lanka. He featured in 12 ODIs and 4 test matches for Sri Lanka between 1975 to 1982. Warnapura, following his retirement, worked as an ICC match referee and an umpire and is also a certified cricketing coach. He has served in the capacity of coach for the Sri Lanka national cricket team before he was appointed as the director of coaching in 1994. He became director of operations of Sri Lanka cricket in 2001. He was 68 years of age at the time of his demise.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News on TV1. To follow details of these stories and more, you can log on to our award-winning website, www.newsfirst.lk. I'm Charlene Benedict for the Newsfirst team. Take care and God bless.